Good morning. Today I will talk about online brokers, specifically those for the forex market. In this video I will list the various characteristics that distinguish them and that can help in the choice. The choice of the broker is of great importance, as it is the one who allows the trader to invest in the markets. Depending on the choice, the results can also change a lot. Brokers can be very different from each other and offer various services, therefore the most correct choice should not be that of the best broker in general, but the one best suited to your needs. Basically, when it comes to the forex market, brokers can be divided into three large groups: the scammers, the unreliable and the trustworthy ones. The fraudulent brokers are generally unregulated companies whose sole purpose is to collect money from unwary aspiring traders. Obviously, that money represents a sure loss, as even assuming you have a profitable operation, it will be impossible to withdraw the gain. It often happens that scam brokers offer signals services, promising the most naive customers to make easy money without risk. A very common technique is to allow customers who have small accounts to make small gains, then advising them to increase the account deposit in order to earn more. This is a classic trap to obtain the maximum deposit from each customer, and then reset the bill. Unreliable brokers are probably the most common type on the market. They are not scammers, so traders do not take immediate risks using them. However, the purpose of these brokers is to ensure the loss of their clients' capital. Through the use of particular techniques, these brokers can significantly increase the probability of loss. These techniques can be the disproportionate increase in spread and volatility, the slippage of opening and closing orders of trades, offering platforms with poor performance and manipulating charts, offering particular instruments such as binary options. That of the trader is already a complex job in itself, therefore choosing a poor broker ensures a loss in the medium and long term. It is good to point out that all these techniques are perfectly legal, as a broker who declares himself a market maker has the right to alter the operations of his customers, obviously within certain limits. Finally, there are reliable brokers, which as already mentioned are very few compared to the total. They fall into two categories: those who earn from customer losses and those who earn solely from commissions. It is the opinion of many that market maker brokers are not reliable in general, precisely due to the fact that their profits depend on the losses of the customers, while when the customers gain they suffer losses. This opinion is often correct. However, there are several market maker brokers who are still very reliable and advisable, and in some cases they may be preferable to the more professional ones. Although this may seem counterintuitive, in reality traders statistically lose money in total autonomy, so in most cases the intervention of brokers only serves to speed up the process. The percentage of profitable traders is very low. Hence, these brokers will easily be able to compensate for the losses caused by the few profitable clients, thanks to the profits obtained from the losses of the unprofitable clients. Traders who lose money tend to blame the broker in some way, often not wrongly, although probably most of the time the blame lies with the trader himself. In fact, in the world there are millions of people who operate on the market without having studied before and, above all, without having practiced with a demo account. Often the rush to make money, or worse, get rich quick, is more dangerous than an unreliable broker. The characteristics that distinguish brokers are many. Some are more important than others, but it is good to take them all into consideration when choosing. The broker's registered office is important in establishing its reliability, as choosing a broker located in a tax haven could lead to problems if there is a dispute. Tax havens tend to be milder in their controls, allowing companies to be set up with few requirements. The problem of the registered office is not so much for the company, but the bank account in which customers will deposit the money to operate. If that account is not on a reliable bank, the broker could have unlimited access to the money. On the other hand, serious brokers use segregated accounts of which they do not have full control. Therefore, in this case, the trader's money is safe from third-party withdrawal attempts. Obviously, there are other ways the broker can make you lose money, using the market directly. However, as a starting point, I do not recommend using a broker who does not offer the possibility of depositing money into a segregated account. The speech related to the registered office is that of regulation, or the license. A broker needs a license to be able to offer financial services, and not all licenses are the same. In the sector there are many regulatory bodies, some more stringent than others. Therefore, the choice of regulation is also important, as in case of problems it will be precisely this regulator that you will have to contact. The biggest and most professional brokers tend to regulate themselves in the US and the UK. Other reliable regulations are in Switzerland, Australia and New Zealand. Obviously, there are serious brokers even among those with exotic regulations. At the same time, there are bad brokers with classic regulations. Many brokers use multiple regulations, so that they can adapt to the rules of the geographic area in which clients are located. You can guess that with a regulated broker in Panama, the Cayman Islands, Malta or Cyprus, it is statistically more likely to have problems, and at the same time it will be more difficult to solve them. It is therefore a question of probability. Another important aspect to keep in mind is customer support. Some brokers do not have particularly accurate customer support, and in case of problems the customer may feel this lack. Generally, it is a matter of luck. If everything goes correctly, customer support will not serve you except maybe to satisfy some curiosity. However, I recommend looking for some feedback to see if the broker you are evaluating has received many complaints about it. Commissions are the parameter that is generally most used to evaluate brokers. Users look for those brokers that offer the lowest commissions, without taking into account hidden costs. Brokers generally charge their clients 3 different commissions: the spread, the contract commission and the rollovers. The spread is the difference between supply and demand, and it is a cost that the trader must pay for each operation he carries out. This commission is then divided between the broker and the liquidity providers, since both offer the trader a service. Some brokers use a different type of execution, and in this case they charge a reduced spread as payment for the service offered by liquidity providers, while their commission will be calculated on the contracts. Generally, the cost of this commission varies between $20 and $80 every million in value, therefore from $2 to $8 for each lot. To make a comparison with the spread, if for example your broker charges a commission of $4 for each lot, you will have an expense equivalent to about 0.4 pips on your trading. Another cost, generally not considered by traders, are rollovers. They represent the cost that traders have to pay to keep a trade open beyond the close of the day. Rollovers represent the interest rate of each currency, so based on the pairs chosen this rate can also be positive, in which case the trader will have an additional gain. It is good to keep in mind that, Generally, traders incur rollovers when they follow a medium or long-term operations. In case of intraday operations, there will be no additional costs. Depending on the broker and the services chosen, other secondary costs may arise. For example, if you decide to use a paid platform, or if you use a broker that provides insurance on operations. It is also true that generally the most reliable brokers also offer the best economic conditions, so you will not have problems. The markets offered are in most cases an aspect that should not be particularly taken into consideration, at least if your interest is forex. Almost all brokers offer a good choice of currency pairs, metals, commodities and indices. Unless you have special needs, each broker's markets offer will be more than enough. However, there are brokers who offer thousands of financial instruments, adding to the classic offer also alternative instruments such as options, certificates, etc. Another aspect little considered by many traders is execution, which affects both typology and speed. As for the typology, there are basically two types of executions: market execution and execution on the market maker circuit. As already mentioned in the preface, there are brokers who work as market makers, and as such all operations will be carried out within a fictitious market, created by the broker himself. On the contrary, there are brokers that offer direct execution in an open market, where the counterparty is not the broker but the other traders. Another important factor, again with regards to execution, is speed. Some platforms are physiologically slow and execute opening and closing orders with a few milliseconds of delay, often causing traders to lose a few pips. Those who work on the largest timeframes, such as the 4-hour or the daily, will not have particular problems, as a few pips will certainly not make a difference. Regardless of this, however, I recommend choosing a broker that guarantees good execution speed. To take into consideration, when choosing a broker, is the minimum balance required. Generally, the most professional and efficient brokers require a minimum balance of several $1,000s, thus preferring quality over quantity. If you have limited financial resources, or if you prefer to start with a reduced capital to gain experience, certain types of accounts are not for you. Leverage is another very important factor, often misjudged. It is seen as a tool to multiply losses and gains, while many professional traders use it only to facilitate margin management. With the same capital owned, the greater the financial leverage offered by the broker, the lower the deposit required to operate. For example, if your capital is equal to $10,000, if your broker offers you high leverage, you can deposit half of the capital, or even 25%. In fact, if your operations have an average risk of less than 2%, it makes no sense to deposit 100% of the capital. This is obviously a personal choice. If the broker is serious, there are no particular risks, therefore you can also choose to deposit all your capital. Another very important aspect is the minimum contract, an aspect that becomes fundamental if the trading account is modest. Generally, almost all brokers allow the use of micro lots, while other more professional brokers have brackets starting with mini lots. Depending on the operation, therefore, you may not be able to respect the correct operational risk. Furthermore, micro lots allow you to operate with greater precision, as you can vary the number of contracts by 1 cent of a lot at a time. The platforms offered are generally the usual ones, especially when it comes to classic brokers for non-professional clients. Platform needs vary from trader to trader, so there is no better platform ever. Many platforms are designed for professional clients, others for clients who prefer automatic trading. Last but not least, there are exceptional platforms but with a high cost, therefore the trader will also have to evaluate the cost-benefit ratio. Brokers generally offer the classic almost universal platform, the MetaTrader, to allow customers to switch from one broker to another without changing their habits. Obviously, MetaTrader is an unprofessional platform with not particularly brilliant performances, therefore many brokers also offer other platforms, this time for a fee. Some popular paid platforms are Multicharts, Sierra Chart and Pro Real Time. Many brokers also use a proprietary platform, therefore developed by their team of programmers, in desktop version or web. These platforms are generally free and quite performing, even if obviously they are not at the level of paid platforms. It is good to keep in mind that professional platforms, even having superior performance, will not work miracles. These platforms certainly offer numerous interesting tools, automatisms for programmers, etc. However, they are mainly indicated for those with special needs, while those who work normally will not have problems with the classic free platforms. In our group we have been using free platforms for years, on different timeframes, without problems. Obviously, depending on the financial instruments chosen and the country of residence, you will have to pay taxes on profits. What can change between the various brokers is the type of declaration. With almost all brokers, the trader will have to make a tax report in the event of a capital gain, while some offer as a service to fill out the tax report instead of the client. This can be very convenient. However, I recommend that you worry about taxes only if you have a good operation, which is profitable over time. Some brokers are characterized by the secondary services offered, such as the offer of particular financial instruments, or by offering an educational path. It is not advisable to take this aspect into consideration when choosing a broker, as those services are generally offered precisely to attract the most inexperienced customers. Most brokers are market makers, which means that they suffer losses if their clients are profitable. For this reason, it is unlikely that brokers have a real interest in training their clients. Similarly, brokers who offer to share trading signals are unreliable. Finally, many brokers offer welcome bonuses, increasing clients' deposits so that they think they have more money to invest. Welcome bonuses generally have no real use, and in some cases they can represent a problem. That money does not really exist but is equivalent to an increase in leverage. In fact, in order to withdraw that money you will be forced to carry out a large amount of operations, which you will never be able to achieve unless you force the operation by exposing yourself to high risks. I therefore advise you not to consider that bonus, especially if it is the only reason why you have considered a particular broker. I advise you to always keep in mind a fundamental concept in commerce, namely subjectivity. In fact, there is not a single product that is perfect and problem-free for everyone, but there are products that, statistically, are better than others. By this I mean that even the best brokers can make mistakes and create problems. However, they will be more likely to solve those problems, and in general you will still be less likely to run into a problem. Conversely, if you choose a broker of dubious quality, you will be more likely to stumble upon a problem and less likely to be solved. Last but not least, the best brokers are also the ones who charge the least fees, so there really aren't any compelling reasons to use shoddy brokers. As for the commissions, as already mentioned, professional brokers generally have better commissions. In any case, it is not advisable to focus only on the spread and commissions per contract, as the higher costs are almost always the ones you don't notice. Depending on your operation, you may also have to pay for rollovers at the close of the business day. Serious brokers charge commissions in line with the market, but over the years we have noticed that some brokers have charged commissions far above the market average, enough to compromise some of the profit. Another often underestimated cost is slippage, which occurs when opening and closing trades. For example, if you decide to place a stop loss, a take profit or a pending order in a certain position, these will rarely be executed accurately. Depending on the speed of the platform and the market situation, you may notice a certain amount of movement which could be in your favor, but more frequently against you. Slippage is just that, opening or closing trades at a slightly different price than requested. As already mentioned, the breadth depends mainly on the quality of your broker and the platform it provides. Most traders ignore this aspect, focusing much more on spread or commissions, not knowing that many brokers offer platforms so slow that they cause several pips of slippage for each trade, especially during the most volatile market phases. The result is that these traders without knowing it spend more money due to the slowness of the platform, compared to commission costs. As for the markets offered, the classic ones tend to be more reliable, as they have greater liquidity from suppliers. In forex, the classic markets are currencies and metals. Over the years we have seen many traders choose alternative markets, often characterized by uncontrolled volatility, in the hope of making quick gains. My advice is to choose the main markets and the most used financial instruments, which are more reliable and will allow you to work with lower costs. Another tip is not to deposit all your capital right away if you are at the beginning of your trading journey. Most brokers allow you to work with a minimum capital, thanks to the use of micro lots and financial leverage. This is a choice you should take calmly, weighing all your options as you search for information on the internet. One piece of advice I can give you is not to take into consideration those sites that compare brokers, as there are always advertisements. It is therefore clear that those sites only advertise brokers who pay well, not really reliable ones. Personally, I advise you to search for information on the various trading forums that are on the net, possibly those forums that have a high number of messages and that have been online for several years. Within these you will find many experienced users, registered for several years, who generally give advice without providing an affiliate link and therefore are advice given to help, not to make money. Also in the brokers section of our blog you will find a short list of recommended brokers. Based on our direct experience, they are brokers we have worked with for years, so we can recommend them without fear of making a mistake. Obviously the links in the section do not have a referral code, therefore we are not paid by those companies to advise them, we do it because we believe it is useful for our visitors. However, I advise you to carefully evaluate the information you find written in that section, also looking for confirmation on other sources before making a final decision. Remember that a broker is not necessarily a lifetime partner. You can always change it as long as you do not choose a scam company domiciled in a tax haven. I therefore advise you not to evaluate those alternative brokers, which offer strange and not very credible services, which are not mentioned anywhere. Serious brokers have been on the market for many years and you can find a lot of information about them, from many different sources. I hope this video was useful to you. If you have any questions you can contact us via the YouTube channel, or on our blog in the contact section. In the description you will find some information that may be useful to you. Thanks for watching the video, see you next time. Have a nice trading.